Hello, I'm Joan Justice from HealthWorks Collective, and I'm here today with Stephen Johnston, co-founder of Aging 2.0 and founder of Ford Castle LLC, an innovation consultancy. Aging 2.0 is a global network of innovators, entrepreneurs, investors, researchers, technologists, and older adults themselves who use technology and design to improve the lives of older adults around the world. Stephen, tell us a little bit about Aging 2.0 and your mission.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Joan. Thanks for having me on. So Aging 2.0 got started really a couple of years ago. I was working with a family down in Texas that was unfortunately had this rare dementia, and they were looking to put together a personalized medical research consortium. So I was working with them with a bunch of scientists. But the thing that the family was asking more than anything was about the quality of life tools and products that they could use to improve the lives of them, themselves as a family, looking after somebody with dementia. And it was just really interesting that there was nothing in the market that I saw. There was very little. There was very little innovation. And this was comparing to my other world was, innovation consultant, mobile, social media. And there's so much 2.0 buzz, there's so much of this, the Web 2.0 excitement, and I just hadn't seen that applied to this demographic more broadly. So got started blogging, which is always, a good way to get started about anything, just sort of asking some questions from other people. And, my background is innovation consulting. I was like, where is the innovation? Who are the good people? So I met some amazing people, really interesting group of people. And then partnered up with Katie Fike, who's out in San Francisco, and I'm here in New York. And so we sort of have been running these events really for the last year, just meeting local entrepreneurs and innovators around the US and the UK. And so it sort of snowballed into this sort of informal movement, if you like, about innovation in aging. And let's put this two together and talk about how to actually rethink aging. And so I think this is the point that I'd like to make about what we're doing, what are we here for, which is this whole idea that sort of the aging discussion is still quite, we think, quite limited. It's a lot of times it's about healthcare and it's about sort of negativity and limitations. And so what we're looking to do is to try and say, look, every day the life expectancy, thanks to civilization and technological progress, increases by 5 hours. And that essentially means that over the last 100 years, we've had 30 more years of life expectancy. What are we doing with this? Let's not consider this to be a negative drain. Let's consider this to be a bonus, and let's think about this as in an opportunistic way. So let's move beyond just health and medical negativity to lifestyle and wellness opportunities, ways to get people more involved, engaged, and not to sort of give up on older people, but to have them more vibrant and productive in society. So one example is there's just a lot of great new products out there now that people haven't really heard of that are just starting to hit the market that we're supporting, which are things like connecting grandparents with grandchildren in using tablets and allowing. We just did that the other day with my niece and my mother. So her grandchild was reading a bedtime story, this company called Kindoma out of San Francisco, to via the iPad tablet over to somebody else who is a 3-year-old located thousands of miles away. So it's a really broad question. We're talking about the 50+ market. This is an enormous amount of population. But what we're trying to do is take a different spin on it. And frankly, because something like 90% of the marketing spend is targeted at the under 50s still, even today, we think there's enormous opportunity to get more people involved and more people focused on new ideas and new products for this demographic.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea since I'm over 50 myself. I think it's a great idea. Now, you're on this global tour, and this is where you're planning the events. It's a worldwide movement, correct?
I know. It's at the moment a little bit like global tour, like the US World Series as a world competition. We've had most of our events in the US. We've had a couple in the UK. I'm actually heading to Germany in a couple of weeks because we're going to have our first one in Berlin. And this is just something that we think is really important to have any discussion like this to be a global discussion. There's a great quote that we often use by a science fiction writer, William Gibson, talking about the future is here. It's distributed. And so what's really important for us is to find the brilliant insights, the innovations that are happening around the world. Maybe there's, as we all know, Japan is a much more aging society, and they've got huge advances in robotics that are really interesting that, I've really started to look at recently. There's some really interesting working out of Italy. They've had an aging population for a while, and they've got some really interesting, ways that the family deals with multi-generational issues. It has a much tighter bond amongst the generations that I think in the US sometimes we could do with learning some of those examples, and some of the ways that Denmark and Germany and Sweden has just been living. We just need to share these ideas because this is such a big question. It's not just a problem, it's an opportunity, but we need to be able to share and collaborate much more. And there's a lot of people working really hard, and they don't really know that there's a whole group of other people who are also working hard to support what they're doing.
Great. I think it's wonderful. We can all learn from each other. Well, thank you so much, Stephen. I really enjoy keeping up with what you're doing, and the boomer generation has a bigger and bigger say in healthcare, and you're certainly helping companies bring their innovative ideas to this target market. So I thank you so much.
Well, it's a pleasure. We're just getting started here, Joan, so we'll look forward to checking back in a few months as we continue the conversation. There's a lot of interesting things happening here.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks so much.
All right.